Hey guys, so something exciting has happened recently. I got hired at Amazon and it's been pretty awesome. I just finished like my first week of working with them, and I thought I'd share my story about how I got to this point. So basically, I started coding when I was in high school, and I kind of started it as a hobby because it's I was kind of fascinated by computers, and I was fascinated by UI and UX, and so I just kind of naturally ended up trying it out. I was looking for skills to develop, I guess, or things to. I was always excited about like learning something new, so that's how I got into it. And then it turns out that I actually kind of enjoyed it. And basically, the way the story goes is every year I did like one or two side projects that sort of contributed to my portfolio. I mean, the key was that I didn't really have to do them, but I still did them because it was just something that I was like really curious about. I wanted to kind of learn and just feel like I'm, ahead of a little bit ahead of the curve. That's the kind of the feeling that I always chased. So back in 2004, I think it was 2013 actually. That was the summer my dad first got me my first laptop, and I started learning how to code on it. I started making like small web pages and stuff. I learned JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, and at that point, I remember I really was trying to find. I remember I used to be obsessed with like making this like application for saving notes. I mean, I guess it seemed like the most basic application that I could make. So I always thought like, how can I make things that I add to my notes application persist and open up the same as I saved them in the next session? So, persisting state, basically, if you will, in computer science terms, or just like saving things that you put into your application. Anyway, so, but I remember at the time it used to be actually kind of a pain because nothing made sense. You go to like Stack Overflow and there's like people are like just telling you, oh, this question is redundant, you're asking too many questions. There's just like a vibe in Stack Overflow, which over the years I've kind of grown with it. I've learned how to navigate that as well. But anyway, back to 2013 and 14 actually. That was my second side project. It wasn't actually a side project. It was more like something that I needed for my school, and it was one of my final year projects for okay. So in the British system, in the UK, they have O levels, which is like basically like the first part of high school, and you do it for like 2-3 years. You study the same courses, whatever. They span like 2 or 3 years. So at the end of that, in my they call it information technology. It's so funny I mean, they still kind of call it information technology, but anyway, maybe they should call it something else. Anyway, so I had this course called IT, and at the end of that, in my final year, I had to make a website. It wasn't like a simple one. You had to have like some navigation things and like a couple of different pages. It was like for an event or whatever. But that was the first time that I actually did something serious, I would say. That was the first time I actually, how do you say it, took a kind of a big risk where like I would risk my grade, and the way that I risked it was basically that I decided to code it from scratch, and that was not the recommendation actually. Back in the day, we didn't actually learn how to code in that class. So people were actually, all my classmates were using like tools like I don't know if Squarespace existed back then, maybe it did, but they used like Wix or Weebly. There was a tool called Weebly, but I chose that I would do it from scratch, even though like I had some experience. I was like maybe getting into like intermediate level a little bit because I knew some JavaScript and stuff. But anyway, I ended up making this like bomb ass application, which was really good actually. I got the top grade in my class, in my cohort. And so that was 2014, and then pretty much every year since then I did some side projects every year. So like in 2015 I started learning C, and what did I do in 2015? Oh yeah, 2015 was actually a little bit more busy because I was like applying for unis and everything, but I was still learning on the side. I was learning like C and stuff. I remember being like really curious about C because it was the hardest. Everybody said that, and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna learn. So yeah, I spent that time learning C, and then in 2016 I almost doubled down on C actually, because when I started university it was one of the requirements, and I was like uh, teaching people and helping them, because I kind of knew more than my classmates. So we had like these lab assignments. You know how university is. It's like they give you lab assignments that you have to do. And I remember we used to go in, and we had like lab assignments for like 2-3 hours, and I'd just like finish them in like 15 minutes. That was actually before even you were allowed to walk out of the room, and I'd finish them in like 15 minutes, and I'd wait like 15 more minutes. And uh, yeah, I'd wait 15 more minutes like doing nothing just so I could wait to go out. Yeah, so those were in C, and that was like 2016, 17, and then I got like more serious about it. Like in uni, I had like more free time and time with myself because I moved out of my parents' house. So around that time, I was like, yeah, in 2017, I actually started using Linux more. So Linux I'd been using since 2014, but not as a daily driver. But in 2017, I started using it as a daily driver. So, when you get into Linux and those kinds of things, it does enhance your skills with like coding and everything. So that's definitely a plus. I mean, I think since 2017 has basically been my daily driver, even until today actually. Um, yeah, so, and then in 2018 I made this like my first like big thing, I guess you could say, that was like more official than the first website. I wasn't really, every time I do projects, it's like, is it really on that level or not? I always felt like a little bit of a phony or something, if you will. But anyway, in any case, in 2018 I made this like, I used to be in a group in Telegram. I still am actually. Just Telegram, Discord, whatever. You join groups with people, and so I was really fascinated by chatbots, and I thought, hey, if there's these like chatbots, and I should probably try making something like this. I could customize it and make it my own. So I found this like chatbot, and I basically copied all the functionality from it, but I made my own from like scratch. If you check actually Telegram's website, they have an API for making bots, for chatbots. I mean, you don't have to use the API. You can use like a framework or whatever if you use JavaScript, whatever language you use. But yeah, so I ended up using a framework, and I made a chatbot. That was one of my projects. I added a bunch of custom features to that actually. I added like image editing, and yeah, searching like Wikipedia, YouTube, searching like weather, currency conversions. So like a lot of stuff that you could like, I don't know who uses it in the chat, but like you could use it in the chat. Like, and there were like some fun features too, like kind of hurling insults at each other. You could kind of automate some of that too. And then also in 2018, this is actually around the time, so I'm gonna bring in a little bit of the university stuff. I actually dropped out of university in 2018 because it didn't work out for me. I ended up in the wrong major, so like complicated story, but in a nutshell, you select your major in second year, where I was going in University of British Columbia. So I didn't end up in the right major, but anyway, so when I dropped out, I kind of doubled down even more on my coding things, yada yada. Um, yeah, because I thought that this was like my only option, I guess, but it's something that I'm really into as well. So it's like it's like a win-win at the end of the day. Like you double down on your favorite thing, and then you make something out of it. What's better than that? So I made in 2018, I also made a web extension that was in JavaScript. It's a Chrome and Firefox extension. Basically, what it does is, at the time, it was very like utilitarian. It had a lot of utility for me. It actually still does. So basically, let's say that you're in a situation where you have like 60 tabs open, you're like trying to learn data science or machine learning, whatever, so then you all of a sudden you have to do like a new topic, you got a homework or something to do, and then you don't want to be opening like 160 tabs now, because you had 60 tabs open from before and now you're gonna have 60 more tabs. So what you can do is actually like get all of the links that you have open and put them on your clipboard, and you can just throw them in like a dump them in like a text file or whatever, and then you can just like copy them again, and then when you want to open them again, you can just like dump it in the browser and it'll open it for you in the exact same order as you closed it. So that was the idea of the extension, and I made that in 2018. It has like 80 users right now, which is like, I'll take that. Going from like 0 to 1, 5, and then I don't know if half of them are like bots or whatever, but thank you, if any, thank you to all the 80 people that are using my extension. That probably includes myself. Anyway, so yeah. Also in 2018, after dropping out, I started learning Android development. So it was like making apps on Android. I mean, at that point I was kind of like, I'm not covering the mental health side of this, but I was like depressed as fuck, dude. Like, I was down bad. So what I did to cope with that was just learn Android development. And so I started making like small apps. They were not really very useful, but like, I don't know, some dumbass calculator app or something like that. And so that's just like, it's just like, learning more stuff. And then but after that, I actually got into another university program, or some people might call it community college. Either way, you could say it's basically equivalent to college. But what I did was I signed up for because I had to actually. I'm not gonna get into the details of that. But yeah, I had to be enrolled in something. So what I did was I signed up for a 2-year program in software. And so what that helped me with was basically to double down even more. At this point, we've doubled down like 3-4 times. But anyway, at that point, you're like full-time into it, like you're all in. So I started learning more. Every semester we had like classes about web development, coding more stuff, Python, you name it, mathematics, networking. They covered basically all the fundamentals. But the thing is that at that point I was already familiar with like more than half of that stuff. So I walked into class like knowing like 75% of what they were going to teach. And the thing I loved to do was also like, before walking into class, I'd just like cover the stuff before I walked in. It's what they called flipped learning these days, which actually, if you do it, is like pretty good. So anyway, I walked into class and I'd like know everything that they were gonna cover. And yeah, I just started doing more projects after that. Like after that, I kind of lost count of the projects. But in 2019, I did like a major one, which was like an Android app. It was an Android app. I just thought, fuck it. I'm just gonna, summertime, you don't have anything to do. I'm like, I'm just going to make something. So I started building this Android application, and I thought, I'll make a music app. Just everybody's made like a music app. There's like thousands of them in the Play Store. But I thought, I'm gonna make my own, and I'm gonna make it have my favorite colors and everything. So I made that. I started making that. I never finished that actually, but I put in like a solid like 30 fucking days into that thing, and it was functional. Like you could play. I still have it on my phone. You can play music on it. It runs in the background, all that stuff. But I would say like I wanted to have 4 tabs at the bottom of that application, and I just completed one of them. But anyway, it still functions, I guess. So you can still use it. And then I also started going to like hackathons. I went to like 2 or 3 hackathons, maybe like 4, over the course of like between 2019 and like 2021. I went to like 3-4 hackathons, and also during school. So yeah, the point of this video is not to say that you shouldn't go to school, but like it does give you a lot of good opportunities. Like when you're interested in it does benefit you a lot to go to school of any kind. If you go to like even boot camp, you get access to like these opportunities that you can like just go there and code stuff. And I also volunteered for like 2 or 3 places. I volunteered as a software developer. This was like also in 2018, 2019. I volunteered. I remember there was like this one application that they were building where um, they were like helping homeless people to find resources based on their location, like free resources, like whatever, like food, shelter, things like that. And I contributed to that, a little bit as well. But throughout this, I always felt like, man, I don't know if I'm like a real software engineer yet or not. But anyway, so in comes 2020 and we've got the COVID pandemic and everything. But at that time, I was like, through my program, I had access to some opportunities like through school where I can like apply to internships. So I started like fucking spamming everyone with my resume, and my resume was like pretty big, so I had to make it small. And yeah, the key here is that you have a lot of like projects in your portfolio. So if you have a lot of projects in your portfolio, anything that you're interested in, just like keep building stuff. So yeah, I was like spamming people with my resume, and I landed one internship. It was a nice company. They're growing pretty fast actually. They're based here in British Columbia, and they make like enterprise software. And so I went there and I'm like, damn, I'm like finally legit now. And so 2020, I spent like 8 months doing that internship, and after that I got hired full-time as well. I had to just like finish one semester at school, and yeah, I went back and I started working for them full-time. I worked for a year, and that brings us to almost to today. I was working at that company, and I thought, hey, maybe I should take a shot at these FANG companies right now. And so I thought, maybe I'll just try it. And I started practicing like lead code questions and stuff for like a few weeks. I actually landed the interview. That was pretty nice. And they had like they had 5 rounds of interviews actually. So first one was like you answer like lead code, hacker rank questions, whatever, algorithms. And then even after that, there were like a few rounds of algorithms, but like they were also combined with like behavioral questions and everything. But yeah, if I had to sum it up, it was like, I'm mostly like self-taught, so I have that sort of energy that I will go the extra mile if I need to, or I'll just go it for the hell of it, So I feel like that might maybe what got me through it. But anyway, I feel like I almost feel like I made it in a way. If you told like 16, 17-year-old me, or like even 18-year-old me, depressed as fuck, even 20-year-old me, that you'd be here when you're like 24, I'd be like, wow, dude, I don't know how you got your shit together, but here we are. So yeah, the point of this video is just to share my story. It's not I'm gonna make another video, I think, about like advice for people who are new to coding and to software and things like that in general. But yeah, I just wanted to share my story here, and I'll also probably cover the mental health side of it in another video, because otherwise this is gonna get way too long. But yeah, that's about it. We are here now in a top 4 company, and I'm sitting here in this beautiful city with these beautiful trees. Don't know if I can ask much more from life at this point. No, maybe I can. Anyway, have a good one, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.